Hello everyone and welcome back to More Knowing Wheel. Today we return for episode 65. Not only, of course, the episode number of this series, but also the amount of degrees centigrade it currently is in the UK. As always, I'm joined by Jamie183. How we doing, mate?
I'm good. I'm quite warm in my room in Manchester, but
Yep.
I was less warm at 3 o'clock today when we were meant to be recording this, and actually did start recording this.
We got a good 10 minutes in, didn't we? And then apparently I live in, well, I don't even know, somewhere that doesn't keep power very long. The Middle Ages, yeah, pretty much, because whenever it gets warm here, I lose any sense of first world necessities anymore. I lost the power for about 3 hours because I live on the top of a hill.
And because of that, I'm now extra warm doing this podcast, and I'm not very happy.
Yes, but I've cooled down a little bit. This has worked nicely for me, so, we won't talk too much about that, but... at the time, if you're listening to this on Tuesday, when this has hopefully gone live, grab a cool drink, sit down, relax, and enjoy the smooth, sultry tones of Jamie and I getting angry mainly this week about Formula One. Yes, we're back. Of course, it's the French Grand Prix this weekend, though, Jamie. Often, Le Castellet has, everyone thought it was a snooze fest, and then last year it was quite a decent race. What are you expecting this year?
Yeah, I think you basically summed it up. It's kind of like, it's one of those tracks that I always find it quite hard to get excited for before the race. Because, I don't know about you, but like when you're in the race week before, like Spain, or what's another one that isn't very good?
Monaco.
Monaco lulls me into a full
Monaco's
sense of
weirdly,
excitement.
isn't it?
Yeah, but tracks that you, on Zandvoort, for instance, you're not expecting a great race. I just think, oh, okay, F1's on. I will obviously watch it, apart from I can't watch it this weekend. But I usually will always watch it, but I don't get my hopes up because I just don't expect very much. But you never know. New 2022 cars have been pretty okay at following each other, which has been the big problem at France in the past few years. Although saying that, last year it was probably in the top 4 or 5 races of the season. Like, it was a pretty good race. We'll have to wait and see what it delivers this time. But hopefully it's a good one.
Yeah, and I've weirdly got high hopes for Le Castellet this weekend. I'm sure by saying that is going to completely come back to bite me. But I also completely forgot. I've been very unprofessional today and haven't linked. Check out.
I know.
Check out all the links
I was going to address it
down below. You should have addressed it because I've been very unprofessional there. Spotify. If you're watching this on YouTube and you don't want to see our sweaty mugs, definitely recommend going back and checking out the podcast on Spotify. We've got Manscaped. We've got F1 merch. We've got Fanatec, we've got Clips. What else am I forgetting, Jamie? Bybit as well, of course, the big one. No. Bybit as well, yeah, that's obviously the most important one. But yeah, Le Castellet, though. Like I said, I've got weirdly high hopes for this weekend, which I think are going to come back to haunt me. But this has sort of been the other thing I've been thinking about with the French Grand Prix recently. France. It's got so much history when it comes to the motor car in general, and obviously the birthplace, really, of motorsport. You'd really expect it to be a country that just has, like, one hub of a racetrack that is, like, out and out, always the French Grand Prix. And it's just never had it. Exactly, yeah. You want, like, your Silverstone or your Spa, or even, I'm trying to think of others.
Monza.
Monza, that's always the other big example.
Good as well, I guess. But no,
Imola's quite good, but then again, so's Zandvoort in Belgium. Yeah. So's Donington Park or Snetterton or Brands Hatch in the UK. Zandvoort's in Belgium. Sorry, not Zandvoort, Zolder. I always get the two muddled up, and it always annoys me that I do.
It's all Z's, isn't it? Nah, France.
Exactly.
Yeah, you expect... Like, you obviously got Le Mans, which is very iconic, but not less so in Formula 1, because I think...
You're completely pointless in Formula 1.
Well, they've been there, haven't they, in the past? Or am I making that up?
They went to Le Mans Bugatti 1 year, and I really think they need to make a return there.
I think they should try something. I think Le Mans has so much history, so much, like... I don't know, it's almost like you went when F1 was in Indianapolis. Like, it'd be that kind of equivalent where it's not got the history in a Formula 1, but in motorsport generally, it's well worth F1 trying to put down roots there, I think, because we've seen, same with USA, like I just said, but also in France, they've struggled to really get a consistent place. We was at Manicourt for a bit. It was at Riem back in the day. Obviously, I had like Castellet since 2018, but it deserves a racetrack.
They've had so many, haven't they? I mean, even you look at tracks like Po, for example, of course, wouldn't stand a chance with a modern Formula 1 car, but still a brilliant little circuit in the south of France. But yeah, it's just... like I said, I personally, if I was looking anywhere, you'd want to be either looking back at Magny Core. That would be I don't think it would provide particularly brilliant racing. Still, I think a lot of the nostalgia around it is the fact you could just hear V10 screaming everywhere. But you think down
so
towards
small
that
as well. It looks narrow and small in 2008 cars, so
yes,
it's tiny now.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, yeah, you could get some sends down the Adelaide hairpin, couldn't you? Things like that. But yeah, if I was the head honcho at Formula One, I would be trying to push towards whether you could run a race, say the weekend before Le Mans 24 at Le Mans Bugatti or something like that.
It would be so cool to see F1 cars at Le Mans. I
do wonder whether there is going to be a push in the future to sort of see F1 overlap potentially with other series. I'm just thinking in my head, say for example you have a Formula One race the weekend before Le Mans at Le Mans. A Formula One race the weekend before NERB 24. Something like that. Or even they go to the Indy GP circuit. Obviously, I know they do an IndyCar race on the Grand Prix layout as well. But, NASCAR and IndyCar have spoke more about doing a combined event at Indy. You chuck Formula One in there as well. Things could you can have a absolute madness of a weekend.
Yeah, I think F1 is too big to run at the same time as those kind of things. But, yeah, it's possible.
I think they like to believe they're too big, but I don't think it would be detrimental.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see though. But the reason we're speaking of the French Grand Prix, the future of the French Grand Prix, is because it's, at least in the short term, a little bit in doubt. There's been some talk on Twitter from fairly respected sources this week that 2023 calendar.
Sorry, that was a terrible pun.
That was awful. I'm going to move on from that. 2023 F1 calendar has kind of been almost set in stone now, and it looks like it gains a race in South Africa at Kyalami, which is amazing.
Yes.
But it may be losing the French Grand Prix and, more sadly, the Belgian Grand Prix for 2023 at Spa, which it's kind of been whispered about for a while, but no one really thought it would happen. But it looks like it might be happening, which is an absolute travesty.
Spa needs this year a good race. It was a brilliant track to watch qualifying runs on over the last few years, but it was not a great track for that generation of Formula One cars. But you cannot lose Spa. I'm sorry. No. It is the second best racetrack in the world, by far and away the best Formula One circuit. Only behind the Nordschleife, for those asking. It's the second best racetrack in the world.
I thought you were going to say the Nordschleife is a better F1 circuit. I don't think so.
The Nordschleife, was not quite a better F1 circuit. It was a little bit ridiculous then. But, I don't... Because, we've already lost Spa twice in the 21st century, Jamie. Can you name me both years?
Oh, is this the trivia?
No.
No, okay. Trivia's coming later. One of them,
your
they didn't go there.
Quiz is coming later.
They didn't go there in 20... Oh dear. Late 2000s. I think it was... I think it was 06 when they put the new chicane in. For 07, so they missed 06. Is that right? Maybe that's not right. I'm losing it. Oh no.
I'm pretty certain that's right. Because I definitely know the other year.
The other year... Well, basically, Raikkonen won all of them in the 2000s that actually happened. Up until 08 and 9. No, he won 09, didn't he? So, Raikkonen won 4, 5, and then 7 was the one... No, he won 7 as well. So 8 was the one...
It was 6. It was 6.
Yeah.
And can you name the other year?
Well, they definitely raced there in 2000, because that was Hackett and Schumacher.
Yep.
Raikkonen won in 0...
Just looking for a number.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to go through... It would be a complete guess, to be honest. I'm going to go 2001.
No. 2003.
Close enough. Knew it was an early one.
Which, again, was for renovations.
Fair. Yeah, so it's been on and off, but those have been planned
Not
absences
really
for a year.
Yeah.
So hopefully this isn't the end.
Yeah, exactly. Like I said, everyone that watches my other videos, whenever I get back to the Belgian Grand Prix, I give it about a 2-minute swan song about how much I love it. I've done literally thousands of laps around Spa on the sim, sadly. We've both been to the Grand Prix there as well. Jamie's actually going back in a couple of months' time, aren't you?
My tickets
so you might get to see them
through the roof because it's now the last Belgian Grand Prix.
They certainly, I tell you what, they probably actually have done a huge jump forward. But yeah, that being said, though, let's also sort of try and focus on the positive quickly. Africa is getting a Formula 1 Grand Prix again, and Kyle Army, not 100% sure it's going to be an incredible track for modern Formula 1 cars, but it's a brilliant little circuit.
Yes, and as someone's revving outside, apologies you didn't hear that, but my window is very much open on this evening. But yeah, Kyle Army, I haven't ever really seen a race there, obviously neither have seen a live one. But yeah.
Neither of us have been there.
No, it's very, very important to have a race in every continent that people live on, in my opinion. So yeah, the fact there hasn't been a race in Africa for so long is, yeah, a massive shame. So, but it's good that F1 have kind of seemingly addressed that, although it's not actually like official yet, but it's very much.
No, but it was DHL. What DHL have apparently confirmed it, haven't they? They accidentally leaked something about it.
Yeah, so it's very, very likely to happen, which is really good news for Formula One. And I think the last couple of tracks, like, I don't know, back in like early 2010s, they were like...
Yeah, when they were trying to expand that way.
They were going to countries that like they thought they could build a fan base in, whereas now I feel like they're going to countries which have a fan base that's not got a racetrack, which is cool.
Let's also not forget the fact that Formula 1 now is actually building a fan base rather than hemorrhaging viewers every year.
Yeah.
So, you know, it does make sense now to actually try and be expanding into different areas again. Because, I mean, let's be fair. Last year's cars at India would have been incredible. Korea as well would have been another really good shout, actually.
Yeah, it's a bit of a shame that Herman Tilke did his best work in tracks that are no longer on the calendar. But, yeah, we'll let him off for that one, because... yeah,
because those two circuits would have been brilliant, wouldn't they? What's the other one I feel like I'm forgetting from that era?
Well, Malaysia was one of his, which is
Malaysia, yeah, as well. But we did get one race there. Technically, that regulations of cars. But yeah, Malaysia desperately needs to come back as well. I mean, this is the problem, isn't it? Now, Formula One has got to a point now where we've definitely got probably 30 tracks we need.
Yeah, almost like the number of drivers we need to get a seat as well.
If Formula 1 needs to run like a series where you only have to do like 20 races a year, and you get a genuine option, host like 2 races a weekend.
A genuine option, it would be really, really impractical to try and implement. But getting like racetracks almost paired up and having a year on, year off with each other, almost like the Nürburgring and Hockenheim did. Like they could do that. I don't know, with like, say they do that in Belgium and Netherlands. They have 1 year of Spa, 1 year of Zandvoort.
Oh, just give it both years to Spa. If you're going to do that.
But stuff like that, or maybe with, what are those?
Spain and France.
Spain and France, that would make sense. Yeah. Stuff like that, where you sort of satisfy both fan bases, and also have both tracks as often as possible on the calendars. Obviously, all the contracts are so far in the future that it would be very impractical to do.
Yeah, it wouldn't happen, but still. Yeah. We can dream. We can dream. That'd be in our perfect little world, wouldn't it? Because I mean, it did work quite well between Hockenheim and Nürburgring, didn't it, for a few years?
Yeah.
But that was just because Germany didn't want to pay for either of them.
No, and it was especially weird when Nürburgring stopped, so they just went to Hockenheim every other year for a bit instead.
Yes, yeah, which was even more bizarre because then, of course, obviously the way we look at things is obviously the F1 games. And that then meant that on F1 2015, you could still race at the Hockenheim, even though it was on the wrong year's game.
Yeah.
But you could only race it on one game mode that then wasn't normally in the game. It was a weird time. It was a very, very weird time.
But we need both of those, well, at least one of those tracks back as well, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah, Germany. Germany. How stupid
Hockenheim,
is that?
I prefer than
Nurb.
But
You want Nurb. Much, much better.
Shall we move on from F1 calendar talk for 10 minutes or so?
Let's move on. Well, let's move off from the future and back to the present.
Yes. And yeah, Paul Ricard is happening this weekend. We kind of touched that very briefly at the start, but it should be an okay, in terms of competitiveness, should be an okay race because we saw at Silverstone, Mercedes were kind of okay when the track wasn't really bumpy. And Le Castellet is definitely not bumpy. It's in fact very smooth, much like Silverstone. So, yeah, Mercedes could be back. Could be back for more fighting at the front because it's been so long and they've been so starved of victory.
Exactly 230 days now, something mad since Hamilton's last win.
Wow.
Should only be 220 odd, but hey.
Well, maybe
speaking of I'm going to try there and shoehorn in a segue, Jamie, so I don't forget about this week's quiz.
Okay.
Speaking of recent winners,
here we go.
I am going to give you 1 minute for this week's quiz. There have been, let me just double check again that I don't get my number wrong. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, race winners
5,
are
6,
generally I'm
7,
quite good
8,
at, so
11, 12. There have been 14 Formula 1 drivers to have won Grand Prix that have hailed from France this weekend.
Oh dear. Okay.
Your job is to, once I've got a
I'm not going to get all of them.
To name, I don't know why I've got a timer for 9 minutes and 25 seconds. That seems oddly specific.
Yeah.
I'm giving you way too much time to think about it now. You've got 1 minute, Jamie.
14.
On the clock. 14 drivers. Ready? 3, 2, 1, go.
Okay. Prost.
Yep.
Alesi. Gasly.
Yeah.
Who is the other 90s one? Oh no. Trintignant. Or Trintignant or something.
That is not one
Francois
I was expecting to guess. Yeah.
Oh, Olivier Panis.
Yeah, you almost gave him his Top Gear name, didn't you?
I did. I'm really struggling now. There's so many more though.
It's so weird. I can see myself in my timer.
French drivers. French. This is so old though, isn't it? I'm in the mud.
20 seconds.
I feel like I've got all the ones since like the 90s onwards, but that's not very many.
A lot of them still I've recognised the name of.
Did I say Sever?
10 seconds.
Oh, Pironi, Arnoux. Jabouille.
Yeah.
Jabouille.
Yep.
Oh, that's a decent effort, I think.
1-0.
Oh,
so
how many more?
You got... Well, I mean, you're going to kick yourself.
How many did I miss? I got the only world champion, so that's not too bad.
You got the only world champion, yep. You missed out 5. That's actually been one of the worst scores we've had so far.
That's not that. That's quite a hard topic.
It is. It is quite a hard topic.
What did I miss?
Except you forgot Esteban Ocon.
Oh, yeah. To be fair, his win was irrelevant, so that's fine.
Yes, so was Gasly's.
I like Gasly, so it's all good.
Other ones I thought you might get. Jacques Lafitte.
Oh, yeah, I could have got him.
Patrick Tambay and Patrick Depailler.
I would have got them with enough time. I feel like they're quite...
I hadn't heard of one of them you mentioned, to be fair, off the top of my head.
Tristan.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then the other one was Jean-Pierre Beltois.
Oh, yeah, I could have got that with enough time. But if I had like 10 minutes, I reckon I'd back myself.
Yeah, so do I, but you don't. Now,
that's
for
not bad.
1 bonus point to save yourself this week, Jamie, we've got a bonus score. Can you tell me how many points every French driver in Formula 1
How am I going to
scores?
do that? How am I going to do
I'm willing to give you 1,000 bonus points if you get this bang on.
There's no way I'm going to get that bang on. Okay. Well, think about it logically.
Yep.
Obviously, the point system changed in 2010.
Yep.
So you've had like Grosjean.
Jamie, I'm just going to level with you. You're not going to get this.
No, I know. I want to get it within the ballpark though.
If you can get it within, let's say, 100.
Grosjean has probably averaged about 70, 80 points per year.
Right, okay.
In his time in Formula 1 since the points change. Gasly's probably averaged about the same, 60-ish. So say that's 600 for Grosjean. It's about 300 for Gasly. And it's about 300 for Ocon as well. That's 1,200.
Yep.
Plus whatever Prost got, which is an awful lot. I reckon he got at least 400 or 500 in the old points.
Well, he would have actually got at least 500 because he had... Actually, yeah,
he had 4 world championships, yeah. All
well,
right, I'll go.
50 wins was what I was thinking.
For total...
Yeah.
It's got to be around 2,000, I would guess. Maybe a bit more. I'll go 2,350.
Wrong.
How many?
You are actually way under.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Fair. I forgot that
like I said, I was going to give you 1,000 bonus points if you got this bang on. Because it's actually 3,426.47 points.
Right. This is the 1/7 of a point from the 50s, yeah.
But what I don't get with that 1/7 of the point from the 50s is there's then also someone there that also must have earned 3/10.
Yeah.
Or someone that... No, because even then if someone earned a half point, someone then also had to earn 3/10 of a point.
Yeah. That's so. F1 in the
I read
50s
that
is a
on
bit
there.
wild, which is most
7 points.
of where the French drivers hail is from the 1950s. So
Yes.
yeah.
Well,
Fair.
you did.
Let us know how you
disappoint
found
me
the
this
trivia.
week. Yes,
That was
exactly.
very, very hard. But I like the
It
level.
was.
I like the level we're going for.
Good. So 9 out of 14 is, like I said, probably one of the worst scores we've had so far this year. But I know by saying all this, Jamie is now going to try and make me name every Aboriginal Formula 1 driver from 1962 or something like that next week. So I'll make sure you get yourself
1949?
subscribed for that.
Yeah. Do it. And speaking of French drivers, we're going to be speaking of a French driver's teammate, actually. Yuki Tsunoda.
What a segue.
Yes, because I think we covered it a few weeks ago, but Helmut Marko, who is sometimes a bit deranged. To put it lightly.
Sometimes.
Yeah, maybe.
Actually, I can't say that. I shared a Red Bull.
Yeah, you've literally been in hospitality with him, so you can't say that.
I have, yeah. His eye looks even weirder up close.
Yeah, he labelled Tsunoda as a problem child after the Silverstone crash with Gasly, which was completely Tsunoda's fault. It was very foolish to do.
Yeah, Gasly should have been driving quicker, but yeah.
So, yeah, thankfully for Tsunoda, his own boss, Franz Tost, has got his back a little bit and said, yeah, I quote, "I like problem children," is what Franz Tost said. Which
really does suit the Franz Tost weird agenda.
He's such a character,
because,
isn't he?
Let's be fair, but such a character in the weirdest of ways.
Yeah.
Like, you can't work out if he's quite funny or just the saddest meeting. Like, it wouldn't surprise me if it came out years from now that he's actually the one pulling the strings over Helmut Marko. Or something bizarre
maybe.
like that.
Yeah.
Because he just, like, it's always the big one for us, isn't it? The most, like, new Formula 1 fans quite like Franz Tost, I think, don't they? Because they don't realise he's just such a miserable git. Like, the one that always sticks out to us too, isn't it? Was
Secret
him
Santa.
a few years ago saying he doesn't like Christmas.
Yeah. Check out.
Like, what are you planning to do over Christmas? Nothing. I don't like it. You know, like,
Yeah,
have
it
some
was-
chill.
Yeah, he hates Christmas. He is the
Yep.
literal F1 Grinch.
Yep.
But it is mid-July, so we'll
Perhaps,
we'll move on from
perhaps
that.
he's like their version of Krampus.
Yeah.
Because
But,
he hates
yeah, I
Christmas
saw actually
and likes problem children.
they've got Tsunoda a psychiatrist, which he had in Formula 2 apparently, but then didn't keep on in F1. But now he's going to restart
Okay.
with his psychiatrist again. So maybe he'll stop like being so mental on the radio. But we'll
Fair
have to
enough.
wait and see. But
I mean,
yeah,
my
he's-
favourite one was still my dad after he crashed out at Canada. When he was walking back to the pits, my dad went to me, "Do you reckon he gets upset, when he can't drive the car because he's got homework to do?"
That is such a boomer F1 fan thing to say.
It did make me chuckle, though, which I think says more about my lack of humour than
Yeah,
anything else.
yeah, I think it does.
But yeah,
But-
Yuki Tsunoda, problem child, and Franz Tost's favourite person in the world, which might not be a good thing. You don't
No.
know. I just wouldn't bank on him getting you anything nice for Christmas.
No. But keeping on, this is a brilliant segue, the theme of Japanese involvement in Formula 1,
Love that.
Honda are back.
Well, they never really left, did they?
They never really left.
Honda
They
are
got
so odd.
they got rebranded to Red Bull powertrains. They're doing quite well, so Honda are like,
But
yeah.
no, that's
we'll
not
come
what's
back.
actually happened, though.
No, it's not. Is it?
So, what's really gone down is, of course, Red Bull have relabeled it Red Bull Powertrains. It's basically still a Honda Power Unit. Red Bull were then told, because of course they've labelled it now as Red Bull Powertrains, that when the new regulations come in 2026, they were going to be allowed more mileage and obviously more testing time because they were a new engine supplier. Every other team, of course, has turned around and gone, well, that's ridiculous because they're not new. They're going to be
Yeah.
doing these engines for about
Everyone's
5
just
years.
going to rename their engine to something new.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's going to be like Mercedes AMG Patronus version 2 or something like that. I don't know. I was going nowhere with that.
You're clutching at straws
they
for that.
call it Maybach. That's what they do. Or
Yeah.
Smart. They come up with a smart
Powered
Formula
by
1 engine.
Smart.
Powered by Smart, yeah. But so obviously everyone else has turned around and gone, well, that's ridiculous. So they've kind of just slapped Honda logos back on it. Although saying that, when I was at the Red Bull factory a couple of weeks ago, I did see I can never remember his name, the head honcho from Honda.
Oh, I can picture his face because he was around
Yes.
at Silverstone, wasn't he, on the grid?
Yeah. F1 engine man. I'm going to Google. If it comes up with the right thing, I'm going to be amazed.
What's
Is it
his name?
Tanabe?
I'm not sure. But
It
even
is
so,
Tanabe. It came up with the
well
right
done.
thing. That's
well done,
incredible.
Google.
Well done, Google.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
I've saw talk of Honda wanting to come back as a factory team this time. Which
I
would be
had not
interesting.
seen this.
No, I think Will Buxton tweeted something about it, but like they're kind of flirting with the idea of taking over AlphaTauri completely.
That's a good shout.
Which bringing back the Honda name after they were sold to Ross Brawn for £1 back in 2008. Yeah, it would be interesting to see. I think it would be a weird dynamic because that'd be kind of like Red Bull like binning off their junior like program. I guess they're making closer ties with Williams. They could keep on doing that, but
Yeah,
it'd be interesting because I don't think if Honda wanted to do a factory team, they wouldn't really be having 2 Red Bull young drivers. You don't think?
Well, they'd have Tsunoda and Iwasa is what would happen.
Yeah, definitely.
Let's not beat
Red
around
Bull
the
young
bush
drivers.
here. Exactly.
But we
That's
are
just
talking
what
for
would happen.
2026, which is when the new engine regs are for. They'd probably not want to come back before that. But then by
So
then,
it's going to
Tsunoda
be
and Iwasa.
Iwasa and Juju Noda or something like that instead.
No idea who that is.
Juju Noda, she's like that 14-year-old that set track records in Japan.
Oh, well
like,
done. There you go.
Different little kart
And,
venues, and then she went into
Kamui
W
Kobayashi
Series.
will be team
couldn't
principal.
hang. It's going to be Kamui Kobayashi as team principal. Although, actually saying that,
Aguri
Kobayashi
Suzuki,
owns...
bring him back.
No, Kobayashi owns now a big part of Toyota's LMP1 program.
Really? Does he still drive for
Yeah.
them?
He still drives for him as well.
Wow,
And he
fair
owns
play.
one of the cars.
Yeah. So that could be incredible. If Kobayashi's team principal in 2026.
Yeah, all I'm thinking is there, Jamie, he works with Toyota, not Honda.
Oh, yeah. Honda and Toyota are quite rivals,
Quite
aren't
bitter rivals, funnily, yeah. In, like Super GT and things.
they? Well,
Super
things can
Formula
change
E.
in 4 years. You never know.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's more and more talks, isn't there, still about Porsche potentially coming in to poach Red Bull. That's looking
Andretti's
more
gone a
and
bit
more
quiet,
likely.
but that.
Yeah, that's been a bit disappointing, to be honest, because I really did want to see Andretti get in. But, you know, I think a lot of people are still against that. You know, there we say that, though. Get what's-his-face from Formula 2 up,
Logan Sargent.
and I reckon there'd be a big push from Liberty and the FOM
Especially
and
if
the FIA
he's able to
get
win it, because if you
Andretti,
can't do
yeah.
F2 again.
Yeah, I reckon there'd be a big push towards, even if he doesn't win this year and does next year. You know, Andretti, what, were targeting 2024, wasn't it?
I think it was
you
23
could-
there originally.
I think
But
they originally said 23
yeah.
and then said more realistically 24, weren't they? I think that's how you get... Logan Sargent, I didn't think I was going to say this, but you need to keep doing well, mate.
I like Logan Sargent. I hope he does well.
Fair enough.
There you go.
That's pretty much just sent him to the abattoir there, haven't you?
Yeah, that's it. That's his career done.
There we go. He's not going to finish another race this year. In Formula 2. Speaking of which, Jake Hughes off.
These segues are unbelievable.
We are buttery smooth with the segues this week. Jake Hughes, yeah, we'll do a quick brief mention towards Formula 2. He's not racing this week or next week because he's got COVID.
Yeah, which apparently 1 in 20 in the UK have it at the minute. So, I mean, we might.
I
have
was
it,
one
to
of
be fair.
those last week. I won't anymore. I just had it. If I got it again,
I haven't.
I'm going to be...
I haven't tested it about 6 months, so I don't know.
I don't think anyone is
But,
anymore,
yeah.
are they?
Jake Hughes, not racing for VAR Motorsport.
Yeah.
So, did you say who it was replacing?
It is David Beckman.
Yes, who seems like such a reserve driver in Formula 2, basically, which you don't
Well,
really have.
I'm waiting for Roberto Merri to end up in 3 cars at once.
Or Roberto Merri is continuing in Ralph Boschung's car. After
He
he
is.
got a podium finish,
For the
which he forgot
foreseeable
to mention.
We,
And
yeah,
he should
we
have
did forget to
won.
mention
He
that
should have
last
won,
week.
but then the FIA gave him a penalty.
Roberto Merri should have won a Formula 2 race
was a
6
feature
years
race as
after he
well.
raced in Formula 1.
Yeah. 7
How
years.
just bizarre is that? 7 years. God, yeah, 7 years, isn't it? That's just so bizarre.
Yes.
Speaking of, though, other drivers that have been in Formula 1 cars not quite 7 years ago,
That's
more
not
recently.
quite as smooth.
That was as smooth as a teenager's face, that crossover. Colton Herta. There were rumours that he was going to be testing a McLaren at Portimao, and we saw some footage this week that confirmed it. And then he tweeted it as well, which kind of made it obvious.
And his times apparently were fairly competitive. And
I mean, that's not
McLaren-
that difficult against Daniel Ricciardo.
No, to be fair. McLaren have been very, careful in their wording of a lot of the stuff surrounding Ricciardo. Because
Yes.
they've committed.
yeah.
They've kind of said Ricciardo will continue racing for McLaren in 2023. They have not yet said Formula 1, which
No, I noticed
is a
this.
complete conspiracy. But you never know. They've just signed up another guy, who I can't remember his name now.
Alex Palou?
Alex Palou, who is an IndyCar driver.
Yep.
Yeah, I know my stuff. There we go. That's about as far as my knowledge goes. But they're really bolstering their roster. They've got Felix da Costa as well. Have I made that up?
I don't know about that one, to be honest.
But yeah, they've got a lot of good drivers, and Colton Herta is one of them. And yeah, they've
Daniel
got...
Ricciardo isn't.
Daniel Ricciardo maybe is less of a good one. But we'll have to wait and see. Ricciardo obviously isn't going to quit, like, of his own accord. He's basically confirmed... he has confirmed that.
I wouldn't say that.
Well, it's confirmed he's not
I
going to walk off.
No, I don't think
shunned.
he'd leave mid-season. He's not going to do a Damon Hill or anything like that,
No.
I don't think.
But I still want to back the cheeky little Gasly to McLaren, even though both of them are under contract.
No, not going to happen. I think if McLaren are going to bring anyone in now, it's either going to be Herta or Piastri.
Maybe. Piastri still needs a seat somewhere, which... Yeah,
Desperately.
Alonso isn't leaving anytime soon.
No. I also love Alonso's comments this week saying it's not his fault young drivers aren't getting seats, it's the slow drivers.
That's true. Alonso for that.
He's getting beaten by Ocon this year.
No, but he's not really, is he?
He is.
He's been better than Ocon and just had horrendous luck.
I wouldn't say he's been... he's on occasion
They've at least,
better than Ocon, but I'd say they've been
par.
pretty even, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's
then
only
we're not saying that Ocon should be binned from the sport. It's the drivers. I mean, there's one.
Yeah, but I'm just sort of saying, Alonso, give it up, mate.
Nah, he's still top 10 on the grid.
Wow.
The bottom 10 are the ones you're looking at Piastri replacing. Like, you can't. I don't know. It seems harsh to say that Alonso should leave when there's other drivers that are definitely worse than Alonso still here.
Oh yeah, but he's also got to get out at some point.
Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I don't see it happening for 23, but.
No. Speaking of other young drivers, though, Jamie, your man Zhou Guanyu's probably quaking in his boots because Fred Vasseur is really, really looking to push Teo Porcher into more FP1 outings.
Yeah, which I think everyone kind of expected Teo to win F2 this year.
He's been unlucky on occasion as well.
He has been unlucky, but also he's not been as good as Drugovich. But then Drugovich is about 5 years older. So yeah, it makes a little bit of sense.
Yeah.
But unfortunately for Teo, it's only his second season in F2. I don't think he's going to win it this year unless something massive turns around between now and the end of the season.
Which isn't impossible,
it's
but
not impossible,
unlikely.
But Drugovich's consistency doesn't look like falling off anytime soon, so it's going to be hard to overthrow that. But yeah, Teo getting more miles in a car, a Formula 1 car, he's definitely going to be in F1 eventually, I think. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see. I think FP1 outings... Yeah, basically, I'm thinking about when Joe signed for Alpha, everyone was like, don't get hopes up, it's only for a year, and then Teo's getting the seat. I don't see that happening.
He might get one more year.
I think Joe has done good enough to earn another year at least, and actually get one home Grand Prix.
Depends how much pressure there is, though, doesn't it? Because, I mean, if Porcher delivers well, they want Porcher... Because, let's be fair, Porcher is a hot commodity still. A lot of it's due to the fact he's still very young, but he is... Certainly, if he gets his act together in the second half of the year, he has a way of building a lot of support around him.
Yeah, definitely.
And let's be fair, you can't even argue, even as a Zhou Guanyu fan, he never really did build up that sort of hype, did he?
No, not really. He was very solid and consistent, but never really had that excitement of this guy's special.
He didn't have that X factor.
No.
Unlike
I think
Teo
last year
Porcher.
in F2, it was only really Piastri and Porcher. You could argue did.
Yeah, and for two slightly different reasons, wasn't it? Piastri's was just because he was rapid all year.
And really good.
I mean, he was... It wasn't even in Prema's plan for him to win F2 that year. He'd signed a 2-year deal with him. But, yeah, then, of course, Porcher, just because obviously he was so young as well coming into it. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think we're going to see a world where Teo Porcher, doesn't get a drive with Alfa Romeo at some point, because he's, one of their only junior drivers. But it really is just the question of whether Bottas... And again, Bottas, he's been vibing this year. He seems to have found his love for Formula 1 again. You did sort of wonder whether he might sort of do a couple of years at Alpha and then sort of call it a day there. But I'm not so convinced nowadays.
No, I think Bottas seems very happy. Certainly much happier than he was as Hamilton's teammate.
Yeah. The only way I can sort of see Bottas going anytime soon is if he was offered a seat somewhere else in a different motorsport. I mean, like rallying or something like that.
Yeah,
you know,
maybe.
whether he's just sort of got that itch he wants to scratch elsewhere, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps. But same as with like Colton Herta and that. I don't think Porsche will have much of a shot in F1 for next year at least.
No. What you need there is Herta and the American F2 guy. I always forget his name. Logan Sargent. Sorry. I mean, that is the most American name in the world.
American.
Can we just add? But they need Andretti to come in.
Yeah.
Alpine desperately need a junior team.
It's been a while since we've said that.
You lob Piastri and Zhou in there, and then get Teo the Alfa Romeo seat.
Yeah.
And then you're golden. 24 cars. Bring in Porsche as well. They can have their own team. Honda gets an extra team as well. 30 cars. Pre-qualified's back. Bob's your uncle. Latifi never seen on a Formula 1 grid again.
Yeah.
Let's talk quickly, actually, JB, about Nicholas Latifi, because I think we've all kind of accepted he's going at the end of the year.
Yeah.
But there's still more and more interesting conversations about who might be getting his seat. Now, for quite a while more recently, we've kind of just accepted it was Oscar Piastri.
Yes.
However, it was actually, I think it was Daniel Abt in Formula E that made an interesting comment this week in New York, saying that Nick de Vries, apparently, will struggle to re-sign for the long term in Formula E with a contract he's recently signed.
There's no way. I don't buy it for a second. That like the fact Nick de Vries still gets brought up in conversations for Formula 1 seats. How many years after he won F2?
Only 3, isn't it?
2 or 3? 2019, wasn't it? But 2019 was also his third season.
You say the same thing about Zhou Guanyu, and he never even won it. That's completely crumbled your house of cards there.
It has a little bit, but I don't buy that for a single second. I think
the very legitimate fact.
No, that's obviously a fact, but I don't think it suggests that he's going to get a seat in F1.
I could see him going to Williams for a year, just because Mercedes might try and egg Piastri, unless of course Piastri then was going towards McLaren. And maybe then, Mercedes were going, we might want to keep an eye on him.
I think
we'll give you some cheap engines.
Like, if you're Williams, you'd probably rather have Logan Sargent, because he's their own young driver.
Yeah, but Williams don't really get much say on these things, do they?
No, I guess. Albon just got shoved in there because Red Bull wanted to.
Williams kind of just end up with a driver each year.
Yeah. I think, I would quite like to see, first choice would be Piastri, but if Piastri ends up at McLaren, I think a Sargent Albon lineup could be quite cool.
I tell you what, for how dull the F1 transfer season is going to be, we don't know how to make it exciting, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. I don't know how I've rambled on about such minor news for so long, but
we always find a way.
This is what the podcast is about.
Yep. Should we go into our final talking point of the day then, Jamie?
Let's do it.
Let's do French Grand Prix predictions. Top 3, pole position. Are you going first or am I going first?
Let's just remind everyone that I'm winning again.
We've said that all season.
I'm on 45, Matt's on 32.
I'm closing the gap.
So you can go first.
Thank you very much. Le Castellet. Charles Leclerc pole. Charles Leclerc race victory. Max Verstappen. Hamilton.
Ooh, the triple team podium. Interesting.
Hamilton's on a 3 podium streak. Let's not forget.
He is, actually. Is it 3? I thought it was 2.
Canada,
no, 3. Yeah,
Austria. Everyone forgets Canada.
I do, yeah. I will go a Max Verstappen pole, surprisingly. I will go a Max Verstappen race win. Ooh. Where do I go next? There's so many drivers to choose from. It could be a six-way fight for the win. Is how I'm billing it. Verstappen win. This is hard. Perez second place.
Oh.
And George Russell in third.
No Ferrari on the podium.
We're going so different. It's a joke. One of us is gonna
That
get
is
screwed
kind of
over.
mad, isn't it? I'm going to get screwed over again because Jamie somehow loves this every single week.
Red Bull OP. Ferrari going to fall apart.
Fair
going
enough,
too
that
well for him,
wouldn't
isn't it?
surprise me. What do you mean it's going too well? One of their engines actually blew up last week.
Yeah, but they've won 2 races in a row. That's well for Ferrari.
That's a very good point, actually, yeah. Yeah, it will all go wrong then. Ferrari never going to win again now. There we go, though. Predictions locked in, ready for the French Grand Prix. Let us know down in the comments below your thoughts and feelings as well as your top 3 and your pole position. Is there anything else, Jamie, to add this week?
I don't believe so.
I just would then quickly like to add a massive thank you from me for 70,000 subscribers now. Less than 30k to go until we hit the big old 100,000 on the channel. So, if you're new around here and you're not already, please do make sure you click that subscribe button as well. Help us get one step closer. The support just still on F122 is absolutely mind-blowing. And I mean, now we're, just over a month away till F1 Manager as well. So things are certainly going to get very, very exciting. But yeah, thank you all so much for watching / listening. If you have enjoyed, please do make sure to leave a like and get yourself subscribed. And we will return next week then to recap the craziest French Grand Prix of all time.